Welcome to Tea with Tanya. I'm your host, Tanya Ambrose, an average millennial navigating life as a maternal health professional, nonprofit founder, and grad student. Join me in the tea tasting room where we spill the tea on finding balance and promoting positive living while doing it all. Hey, my friend. Hey, friend. Welcome back to another episode of Tea with Tanya. I'm going to say it again. Welcome back to another episode of Tea with Tanya. I know. You are probably wondering, girl, where you been at? Where the heck you been at? Let me tell you. Your friend took an unexpected 3-week break from uploading to the podcast. Not on purpose. It was unexpected. For many different reasons, life been lifing, things weren't really working out as it relates to getting the opportunity or the chance to record an episode with some of my guests or even solo episodes. So I do want to apologize for leaving you hanging or leaving you by yourself in the tea tasting room. But I am back. I'm rejuvenated. I'm refreshed, and I'm just ready to take on the role again as the head of the tea gang in the tea tasting room, But yeah, so we're back. As far as the tea of the week, listen, your girl is legitimately just getting back from vacation, okay? She's trying to get into the swing of things. I took a trip back home to my beautiful island of Antigua. And to be honest, friend, it was more than just a trip. I think this trip was a very transformative experience for me across all boards, both personally, professionally, just as an individual. It really and truly was a transformative experience, being able to reconnect with my roots, which I haven't really given up per se, but being able to just be back home, having fun adventures, as far as seeing my country from a tourist perspective and not just someone who grew up or lives there, and just having a good time, making different connections that I've been wanting to for the longest. So again, this trip really and truly was just an eye-opening adventure that redefined my understanding of self-worth, and purpose. Because if you didn't know, my friend, sometimes I still struggle with my self-worth. My purpose, I'm going to say, I don't think I necessarily struggle because I know what my purpose is in life. But then sometimes when I doubt who I am as a person or doubt my self-worth, it sometimes let me even doubt what my purpose is. But this trip really, again, was an eye-opening adventure, and that helped me to redefine my understanding of self-worth and on purpose. But let me tell you, anytime I go to Antigua, it always brings a level of peace that I didn't know was attainable, right? But I will say, as soon as I stepped off the plane, listen, walking through the airport, coming through customs, and then the minute that I stepped foot out of that airport, when I tell you, the heat hit me like the house was on fire. Like the way I was just melting and dripping in sweat. The heat in Antigua right now, it's next level. The heat here where I am in South Carolina is hot too, but just at the time when I left New York, heading to Antigua, it was kind of cool. But the heat in Antigua, girl, let me tell you, that was a mess. But of course, I enjoy the heat, so I'm not going to complain. But the heat is next level right now. And of course, that's the result of climate change that we need to be taken seriously. But that'll be a whole different conversation for another time. But yeah, just meeting that island breeze, the heat at the same time, and just seeing how green Antigua was or is, just really and truly took me back to not only my childhood, but just, again, that place of just peace. And it's just amazing to see how things has changed, but still managed to remain the same at some point in time. The lively energy of Antigua, the music, the food, the good up food, the beaches. Let me tell you, I've been to the beach more times on this trip than I've ever been in all my years of living in Antigua. Like, it was that hot. But again, just definitely, I told myself that I will soak up all the beaches as much as I possibly can, given that I'm not sure when I'm going back to Antigua, if I'm going back to Antigua this year. And of course, going home is always bittersweet because, again, losing my grandparents, my grandmother, the first thing I usually would do once I leave the airport is go see her. And I didn't have the opportunity to do that physically because, again, she's no longer with us. So there's always a bittersweet moment and whenever I visit Antigua. But I think what stood out to me on this trip, it really and truly led me to reflect on who I am today compared to who I was back then. Even who I was last year. It made me reflect on who I am today compared to who I was back then. And I think whenever I return to Antigua, it reminds me of the values and the lessons that I have learned just from living and growing up in Antigua. So this trip was really being and given what I've been going through these last several months of 2024. It was a very grounding experience. It was able to bring me some clarity to my identity and helping me to see my worth in a much better and newer light, you know? I often tell people Antigua is not a place just on the map. It's really truly a part of my heart and my soul. And it's just a constant reminder of who I am, my roots, and the foundation of my self worth that I struggle with from time to time. But whenever I get back home, somebody told me the other day, you're that girl. Somebody told me, I haven't known you that long enough, but just from being in your presence, you are that girl, you're a boss lady. And I was like, little old me. But you know what? I'm embracing that because, again, I am an amazing person. But sometimes whenever I struggle with that self-worth, I think I'm going to always go back to my reflection and how I felt on this particular trip back home to Antigua. So nevertheless, having various conversations with different people who I've known before, who I recently met, they served as mirrors reflecting, my own journey and my aspirations, to be honest, They made me see the value, I would say, in my experiences, the struggles that I face and continue to face, and even my accomplishments that I don't even often pay attention to because, again, for the sake of being humble, but not wanting to sound like I'm bragging either, So this trip really was just a reminder that every person that we meet as individuals in our everyday lives, they have a story, and every story honestly has the power to teach us something about our own lives. But yes, friend. So let's talk about some fun times and some personal joys here. I had a really good time back home. That added to the joy of this trip. That added to the joy of this person that you're hearing that's talking to you right now, even after 3 weeks of us not catching up in the tea tasting room. But visiting the various beaches that I haven't been to in a long time, going to lunch or dinner with friends and family or just colleagues that I've met, being able to tour around the island as a visitor, as a tourist in that capacity, really and truly, it was worth every step. Just being able to see Antigua outside of someone who lives there, which granted, I can't take away from that, but it was just really good, The camaraderie, the laughter, just doing things that I won't normally do when I'm home. And that to me served as a reminder of the simple joys in life and how important it is to make time for adventure and connection. And that's something that I've always struggled with as well, because I'm always so caught up in the hustle and bustle of life. But being able, and I'm gonna be honest, this trip was a little bit more business oriented than pleasure to an extent, but I made sure that there was one entire week where I was able to just indulge in the beauty of Antigua, making sure I'm eating my local food, my little fresh seafood, the tukana and sawfish, the dumpling, all these different things. I was able to do that, soak up the different fruits and of course having my snow cone down by Johnny down at the West Bus Station in Antigua, like just doing the things that I don't often get to do and just making sure that I'm enjoying every meal that I ate. Because when I tell you I ate, I'm pretty sure I came back at least 15 pounds heavier, but that's going to be something I work out with my trainer when I hit the gym, when I head back to the gym. But definitely it just felt good to be connected with my culture and the traditions of Antigua as well. They left me feeling full, and they reinforced the idea that life is really a balance, and it's about embracing the serious and the fun and the meaningful and joyful moments of life as well. All right, so that's just where we are from a reflection standpoint. I'm not gonna hold you too long here in tea tasting room, but we gotta catch up, of course. But I went to Antigua not only for vacation, but for two things. One, for my nonprofit organizations, our Grow with the Flow Women and Girls Health Expo. That was held the day before my birthday, May 26th. No, it was May 25th. And then I was in Antigua as well to attend the Small Island Developing States conference held by the United Nations, and Squad Life Kids had gotten special accreditation from the UN to attend this conference. So that was really some of the highlights of this trip. And I will say, my patience, I'm just saying my patience was tested as a nonprofit founder this time around as it relates to our Grow with the Flow Women and Girls Health Expo. This was year 3, and I made a commitment that I wanted this year's event, to be a little bit bigger and better than the last 2 years, because I think by year 3 now we have an idea of what we are doing. it was a labor of love, and being able to see it come to fruition was an incredibly rewarding feeling, just from a founder standpoint and just from a team leader as well. I will say there was a point in time where I thought I was going to have to cancel said event because things weren't really looking the way I wanted them to look by a certain time. But one thing I did realize as well, leading up to this event, is my resilience and just how no matter how stressful something is, I am going to complain. I'm going to talk about it 50 million times. I'm going to probably curse about it. I'm going to vent my frustration. But in all of that, I'm still going to work on the side to ensure that things are happening and things get done, because I don't back down from a challenge, even though there are times when I want to give up. But I'm not someone who's going to back down from a challenge. I rather do it and fail, because at this point, I know what it feels like to fail, and I know what it means like to move forward from failure. So at this point, any challenge that come my way, you best believe I'm taking it. But it was really a rewarding feeling just seeing how my team came together, how everything came together, and just this first time, like the turnout was beyond our expectation. Families came in eager to learn. People brought their various groups, from the girl guides or different church groups or just anything you can, school children. They came to our event, and the turnout was beyond my expectation, because I'm still of that mind when I say, if I can serve one person, if we as Club Life Kids can serve one person, we're doing our job. And every year, the numbers are still the same. If we can serve 5 to 25 people, we're doing our job. And it always exceeds that number that I set for ourselves. But there was I think this year was the first time. Let me just put this sidebar here, friend. Right now, I don't even want to hear my name, Tanya. And I know you guys are now seeing me in the TJ soon after 3 weeks. I'm going to have to hear my name. But every second my name has been called at this event, Tanya, Tanya. And I'm just like, I need a break from hearing my name for the next 3 weeks, at least. I don't want to hear my name anymore. But this is the first time, as much as I've been called and pulled in many different directions. Like last year, I cannot tell you what happened at the event last year, besides the turnout was great and whatnot. But this year, as busy and hectic as things were, and the many things that I had to do to ensure that the flow of the event was smooth, I was able to, there was a palpable sense of community and support at the event. I was able to actually see individuals with joy on their face. And that was something that I didn't anticipate. The joy on individuals' face, the happiness, just how pleased they are, how they were learning. I had a friend of mine who's also a doctor who was attending the event said to me that someone came up to her with the table that she was sitting at and said to the other practitioner, or said to them essentially, teach me something. And let me tell you, when she told me that, because I'm recording this episode for you right now, and I'm still processing the event that happened back on May 25th, because again, I jumped into the conference, but that's besides the point. But I don't think I realized the magnitude of what we're doing as Squad Life Case in our community. So it's still, I'm like blocking myself from processing that event because of how successful it was and just how things were, and being able to, the different negative things that happened leading up, and for us to see that. So when my friend told me that a little girl said to her, teach me something, that just really made my heart smile and made me just realize that, you know what, Tanya, what you're doing here is important, it's necessary, and it's impactful. So feeling that palpable sense of community and support was also a big, big, big one for me. And the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. And I don't always do well with positive feedback, but let me tell you, hearing that is just really, it's important. I remember speaking to an elderly woman who, her daughter reached out to me wanting to sponsor some teas, because I love me some teas. So she wanted to sponsor some teas for the event and different natural soap and oils and everything. And I said to her, come and have a stall at our event. And that was like the way she gave me a tour of her yard leading up to the event and all. I knew this lady's in her 90s, living her best life. Like she moves younger than I am at 34. Okay. She just encouraged me, and then also thanked me for me even giving her the opportunity to have a stall at our event. And I think that moment was a testament to the impact that we can make really and truly when we come together for a common cause. Organizing this event really and truly reinforced my belief in the power of community. Like we've spoken about community on this podcast, but that really reinforced my belief in the power of community and the importance of giving back. It was a humble and empowering experience, and it showed me that every effort, no matter how small, can make a significant difference. And I learned that, like I said, when everything wasn't really going the right way leading up to our event. So that week of that event was super stressful, but you know what? it is what it is. And we had a successful event. People showed up in ways that I didn't expect them to. And I think that still has my heart smiling. And if I continue to talk about it, I'm going to get emotional. But I do want to give a shout out to the entire Scrub Life Caves team, all of our sponsors for definitely, because it couldn't have happened without our sponsors. I'm just going to say that. Our event could not have happened without our sponsors, especially this year. And they all showed up big, big for Scrub Life Caves. So for that, I'm forever grateful. Still processing what happened. So hopefully I'll have a better recollection, or I can share more with you guys on the podcast as I really sit and reflect on the impact that we made, or what it looks like, or how it makes me feel, and what's next. I know what's next with Scrub Life Caves, but definitely what's next for me as a founder, as a leader as well. Now, we're going to talk about me attending the CSOs conference. Like I said, Scrub Life Caves, we got the special accreditation from the United Nations to attend the Small Island and Development State Conference, where I was able to meet with fellow advocates from the young to the old, and just making different connections as it relates to work that needs to be done within the small islands. I learned a lot. I was able to network with other professional advocates who provided valuable insights and, of course, connections. I was able to meet quite a few important, because we're all important, people from the UN Women. I was able to meet the executive director of the UN Women as well, make connections with fellow advocates that's going to help propel Scrub Life Caves and myself and the work that we do in our community, because again, we cannot do this work as an individual. So being able to meet these amazing, incredible people, I think that the conference was a highlight for me as a professional, but also from a personal standpoint, because again, I'm thinking to myself, oh, little old Tanya over here with her nonprofit trying to fix the world one issue at a time, but then getting that accreditation, meeting people. And oh, did I mention that I also spoke on this panel at the same conference? Did I, I'm just overpassing. I'm just not sharing everything. I don't know. But yes, I got the opportunity to be on a panel at the CSOs conference for one of these side events that they had. And let me tell you, mind you, leading up to this conference, being a part of the different CSOs, I was able to have inputs on different documents that's happening within the small island developing states. But I was able to speak on a panel as it relates to the local CSO solutions, and that was about empowering women and vulnerable communities. And let me tell you, the feedback that I got from that was amazing. But just seeing me, I remember a while ago I said I want to be in my public speaking bag, as the young people would say. But being able to speak there at a conference on that of that magnitude, and being able to share my voice along with other like-minded individuals is a highlight of the entire trip back to Antigua, of the entire conference. Something that I'm still processing, because these are, like, I'm literally living in one or two of my prayers. Like, these are prayers that are being answered, and to see that I'm showing up as my authentic self. Let me tell you, when you show up as your authentic self, listen, nothing or no one can stop you. Okay? When you show up as your authentic self, nothing or no one can stop you. And there was a point in time where I wasn't always showing up as me. And I think now that I made the decision to actually be conscious and intentional about showing up for myself, I think that's why I'm now being able to live in my prayers. Because let me tell you, me speaking on a panel at the United Nations Small Island Development States Conference, what? If you told me this 3-4 years ago, I would not have said yes. I would not have even think it was going to be possible. So that was another highlight of the trip as well, of that conference. I just know that as a community, as a culture, as a small island developing states, we do have a lot of work to do, and I'm excited to be a part of the various CSOs, so that we can ensure that we are working towards achieving the Caribbean that we deserve and that we want to as well. And it further ignites and just empowers me to do more with my platform as it relates to Scrub Life Cares, my nonprofit, as it relates to hearing the tea tasting room for tea with Tanya. It really just gave me a different outlook of my life and what I can do, and the impact and the power. And when I say power, I'm using that term loosely, but the power that I could hold, seeing people show up asking me about Scrub Life Cares, or knowing about Scrub Life Cares, and people mentioning Tea with Tanya podcast. And I was like, oh, wow. It's just always a blessing to see that. So I'm really grateful that we got to attend the conference as well. So I'm going to leave it here because I don't want to tell you too much because I can sit here and talk to you for 2-3 hours about my trip. But those are some highlights of my trip as well. Being able to attend a Jabba Potter experience at the Humble and Free with Dudley was one of my highlights of my trip. Learning about, of course, again, getting back to your roots, to your culture, that plant to table type of lifestyle and eating ital for the first time in a long time. And that's like all plant based and just having great conversation. So if you are in Antigua, I will say you definitely want to check out Humble and Free with Dudley for the amazing tour. And you get to look into the Rastafarian communities as well. While I was in Antigua, we were able, a couple of kids, we were able to adopt another school where we're going to be providing menstrual and reproductive health education as well as providing products for them as well. So we were able to adopt another school. And then we were able to do some work in the Rastafarian community back in Antigua, something again that I've been wanting to do. So another prayer being answered in a way, by way of Dr. Fillmore Benjamin in Antigua. I have to give him a shout out for even inviting us to be a part of his health screening that he had in the Rastafarian community. And hopefully one day I'll be able to have someone on to talk about the Rastafarian community in Antigua so you guys can get a deeper look or understanding of what that is and how it looks like, especially within Antigua and the Caribbean culture as well. So yeah, as I reflect on my journey back to Antigua, I really am filled with a deep sense of gratitude and empowerment. This trip was full of meaningful experiences from reconnecting with my roots and me realizing that, you are that girl. This is where you come from. This is why you're able to survive anywhere. Of course, having the fun adventures, but also to achieving professional success and making a positive impact. It really, being back home this time around, really reminded me of the importance of knowing my worth. Embracing, of course, my culture. Because sometimes I show up on this podcast trying to hide my accent. I'm like, girl, Antigua come from? Like, why are you hiding your accent? This is how I speak. This is who I am. So definitely reminding me to embrace my heritage, my culture, and just being open to growth and learning. Like the interactions, the challenges that I faced, the triumphs have all contributed to a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. And I said to myself, and I'm going to encourage you as well, I said to myself, these next 6 months of 2024 are going to be so intentional for me across our boards because it doesn't matter. People, we're battling all these different issues in life for whatever reason, even for reasons beyond our control. So definitely these next 6 months, I want to encourage you to seek out experiences that will reconnect you with your roots, even challenge your perspective and allow you to make a difference in your own way. And whether that's through, travel, community involvement, or even a personal reflection. There's just a lot of value in stepping out of your comfort zone and exploring new horizons. And that's something that I realize even being back home. Because sometimes you know things, but you don't really realize it until it really just hits you. And just being able to go to Antigua, plan my event, have our event for Scrub Life Kids, and then 2 days later back into the SIDS conference for an entire week and just meeting and connecting with different people who you've dreamt of meeting or being in rooms. It's just an amazing, amazing feeling. So I'm encouraging you these next 6 months, my friend, seek out experiences that's going to reconnect you with the core, with your roots. Challenge your perspective, and of course, allow yourself to make a difference in your own way, whatever that may be. There's so much value. There's so much value in stepping out of your comfort zone and exploring new horizons. So I want to thank you for joining me back on this journey. I could not come back to this podcast and not give you a little life update on this journey of me on my journey back to Antigua this year. I hope my brief experiences that I share with you have inspired you to reflect on your own path and help you to embrace the opportunities for growth and contribution that may come your way. And remember, every journey is a chance to discover something new about ourselves and the world around us. So that's going to be our ending mantra, okay? Every journey is a chance to discover something new about ourselves and the world around us. So definitely, I want to leave that with you. Until next time, we're going to keep exploring, we're going to keep growing, and we're going to always remember to know your worth, know our worth. I cannot wait to see you back here in the tea tasting room next week. I do have an amazing guest coming up. So I definitely want to encourage you to tune back in. I promise you I'm not going to go anywhere without giving you advance notice, but your girl is back and I am ready to ensure that we continue on our mission of transforming every aspect here in the tea tasting room. See you next week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Tea with Tanya. If you like this episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Don't forget to follow on Instagram at Tea with Tanya Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the weekly Tea Talk newsletter. And of course, rate on Apple or Spotify and subscribe wherever you listen. See you next time. I love you for listening.